have to have a three-dimensional solution. So Jeff Canada in the Harlem Children's Zone says, in 3 dimensions, every issue, the government, the church, the NGO, the activist, the business person, they have to be cobbled together to create sustainable change. All I'm desperate for is the government to be less talk and more leadership. Every time, I'm desperate for the government to do what it should do, which is set social policy and then call on the marketplace to innovate against that. The conversation about should we have climate rules is the wrong question. That is not a question that I should have an opinion on except as a citizen. I vote for the government, right? And so I think government should absolutely not set climate rules. Terrific. Count the votes. It turns out that the majority of the engaged citizens think the government should have something to say about that. So say it. Say it. By coincidence, we released a report that said, compared to the 2006 baseline, Timberland last year reduced our carbon emissions 27%. A for-profit company, there's no legislation that says do it. There's no standard. It exceeds what Kyoto would have asked for, exceeds what Copenhagen will ask for. And by the way, we did it and made money doing it. And so I want the government to say, I don't care what they pick. That's the legislative process. That's their job. Pick a number, pass a law, and call on the marketplace to respond. And instead, there's this incredible battle. No leadership, incredible battle of special interests, and we're still talking about it.
Tech industry generates $150 billion in global revenues annually, and clean energy revenue is expected to quadruple by 2016.
Hannu Syrjälä, I'm the CEO of Tieto Corporation, the former Tieto Enator Corporation, the largest IT services company here in Scandinavia. And what we talked there during the session was very relevant to our overall corporate strategy. We are talking about sustainability in Tieto. We are talking about how to leverage IT to reduce emissions in other industries. But of course we don't stop there. We're looking at how to reduce our own CO2 emissions as well. And in Tieto we have a program which is now looking at reducing roughly 50% of our energy consumption in our data centers and so on. So we believe that you can combine good business with sustainability, and that is of course how we believe that we can differentiate on the marketplace, grow and be successful. So that's simply put our agenda here.
The need for reviewing the values and ways of doing business in order to really get to sustainability, because I think much of our problems have to do with sort of the underlying assumptions and values in the investment world and also in the corporate sector. And if we are going to change behaviors, I think we need to question and debate the underlying values and assumptions. Laws and regulations are not going to get us there. We need to actually talk about the kind of things that govern our behaviors.
WWF and trying to save the planet. And we've been talking here today about the opportunities that the financial crisis are giving us. And the fact that we need to distinguish between the companies who are actually just talking and those who are doing something. And that we now, as we move forward, needs to move into action, and it needs to be measurable. So we can't just have conferences very nice like this over and over again. We need to have measurable results from that. So I hope by next year, when we're going to have a Globe Forum again, that we actually have challenged people to say what they've done and how they, in a measurable way, have used the input from this conference to move forward.
corporations are the one who got us in this situation. They created the current economic situation by their greed. Corporations need to be the one who pay for it. They're depleting our natural resources. They're making huge profits in the process, and they need to take some of those profits and create sustainable businesses. It's in their best interest to do so. Gives them a competitive advantage, makes them look good to the hippies. Social capital, long-term benefits. See, I grow my chest hair out so I don't have to turn on the thermostat. Why can't corporations do that? I wear wool hats during the summer. Don't have to turn up the thermostat. If I get hot, take it off. I get cold, put it on. Using no electricity in the process. Corporations need to take this approach, get busy. So what do we do in the summertime? Well, I'm a hippie. So patchouli oil covers up all the natural stank that we create. There's never a reason to turn on the air conditioning. Just don't shower. You get used to it. It only takes 6 or 7 months or so. Wear the wool hat, wear the hippie shirt, grow the chest hair out, be sustainable.
On the contrary, government is in a much better position to regulate sustainability. To begin with, we are in a much better position to regulate all versions of sustainability, both economic, environmental, and social sustainability. We've already begun to do so with such programs as the SEC for financial, economic sustainability, and the EPA for environmental sustainability. We're already on to great progress, and corporations just muddle the whole thing up and mess up what we're starting to create. In addition, government is also better at creating long-term changes, which corporations are just in it for short-term profits. And sustainability is very much a long-term initiative that requires forethought and planning, and that's what governments do best. Everybody knows that. Additionally, governments can create a global buy-in, because if corporations just start deciding to create sustainable regulations, then they're going to unfortunately get their jobs shipped overseas where they don't have regulations. And what have we done? Lost American jobs. Nobody wants that. So what we have to do is create a global alliance of sustainable environmental practices, thus ensuring job security for our American workers. And finally, governments have such a thing called the judicial system in our favor. That means that we can create laws and regulate laws for sustainable practices. Corporations just have their financial metrics, which we all know is important, but it doesn't really create the sustainable long-term practices that we need in the process. So, that being said, corporations are in a much better position to create sustainable long-term initiatives, and it should be government's responsibility to create these, and corporations should just get out of our way and stop messing things up.
Sorry you just had to listen to that. It's painful. This is what we're dealing with here. We need corporations to get rid of their ego, take some of their exorbitant profits, provide sustainable business all the way through their supply chain. We can't keep paying workers in China 20 cents an hour to make $120 tennis shoes for the US market. That is not sustainable. They take our resources, like my lovely trees. They cut them, they build them into houses. The houses fall down. That's not sustainable. That just pisses people off. Listen, the more carbon that these nasty, greedy corporations produce, the more I suck into this huge, giant snosh. From a personal standpoint, I'm nervous about that. I breathe a lot more than the average person given the size of my nose. This has really got to stop. Not only for long-term sustainability of the entire world. But for people with huge noses like myself,
of course they think they have all of the answers. They've been doing it forever. But I believe it was them that got us into this current economic crisis. Can you imagine what they would do to the world and environmental sustainability if they were put in charge of creating environmental sustainability regulations? My goodness, they would mess it up in the first year, and our Earth is already in too much trouble. We cannot allow businesses to take control of this situation. We need to keep it in the government. We know what we're doing. We do better planning. We take longer time to get it done right the first time.